The desert wind rose without warning, sweeping across the dunes like a whisper trying to speak a forgotten name. The sun hung low, melting into the horizon, turning the sand into flowing gold. I felt watched, not by a person, but by the land itself, as if it waited for me to make a mistake. My throat was dry, my steps uneven, and the silence pressed against my ears until it felt alive. Then I saw them, 3 figures standing on a ridge, as if carved from the sunset. They didn't move, didn't signal, just stood there as though they had always been part of the desert. And as I stepped closer, the air changed. Cooler, heavier, almost electric. Something inside me knew this meeting was not chance. Something else whispered that I should turn back. But when one of them lifted a metal cup glowing faintly in the dusk, I wondered, why did the desert seem to hold its breath when they appeared? And what was inside that shifting drink? The liquid slid down my throat, smoother than water, yet heavier than anything I'd ever tasted. For a moment, nothing happened. Just silence, and the soft settling of sand around my boots. Then the horizon bent. The sky throbbed with color. The dunes seemed to breathe in slow, deep pulses, rising and falling like a sleeping giant beneath my feet. My heartbeat stumbled, picking up a rhythm that wasn't mine. A distant sound, like metal striking stone, echoed across the desert, even though nothing around us moved. The wind changed direction in a single sharp sweep. My vision flickered, shapes stretching and shrinking as though the desert was folding over itself. I tried to steady my breath, but the world felt tilted, like some unseen door had been cracked open behind my eyes, and I wasn't sure if something was stepping out or stepping in. The air thickened until every breath tasted of copper and dust. Sound dulled, then sharpened without warning. My footsteps felt too loud against the sand, as if the ground had grown hollow beneath me. I tried to speak, but my words dissolved before leaving my mouth. Absorbed by the shifting air, light shimmered across the dunes, not reflections, but movements. Quick flashes like something running just under the surface. The sky darkened faster than it should have, stars appearing in scattered bursts. My pulse raced, sensing with the strange rhythms echoing through the desert floor. It felt as though the desert was studying me, deciding what to do with this intruder who drank what was never meant for him. The taste of the drink lingered on my tongue, metallic and strange, as if it held echoes of places I'd never been. A cool current swept over the ridge, out of place in the warm night. I felt something tug at my awareness, a pull toward a distant point far beyond the visible dunes. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the overwhelming certainty that something hidden beneath the sand was calling out. The sky flickered again, revealing streaks of pale light that vanished as quickly as they came. Even the stars seemed uneasy, shifting positions in subtle, impossible ways. I tried to steady myself, but the desert no longer felt like the same place I had walked through hours before. The sand beneath my boots buzzed faintly, like distant machinery humming underground. My vision steadied for a moment, revealing the vast emptiness stretching ahead, but the silence carried weight, as if holding back a secret too large to contain. My breath caught when the dunes shifted in the corner of my eye, not from wind, but in a deliberate, almost purposeful motion. Whatever I had drunk, it wasn't meant for comfort. It was meant to reveal something, or perhaps to prepare me for something waiting just beyond the next dune. The night deepened until every sound felt sharpened, every shadow stretched thin. My heartbeat finally steadied, but the desert didn't. The air quivered, carrying a low hum that pulsed through the sand like a buried engine. Waking from sleep, I followed the 3 figures as they moved along the ridge, each step feeling guided by an invisible thread tugging me forward. The dunes ahead glowed faintly, not with moonlight, but with something alive beneath the surface. I felt watched again, but not by the men. Something unseen traveled with us, silent, deliberate, patient. The ground vibrated in short bursts, fading whenever I tried to focus. A question pressed harder against my thoughts than any fear. Was the desert reacting to what I drank? Or reacting to me? As we descended the ridge, the hum in the sand grew stronger, shifting from a distant vibration to a pulse beneath every step. The air cooled sharply, forming a thin mist that shouldn't exist in desert night. Ahead, shapes peeked through the haze. Stone pillars half buried, leaning like broken teeth jutting from the earth. I couldn't tell if they were ruins or natural formations, but they carried a sense of age too heavy to ignore. Something stirred inside my chest, a memory that wasn't mine, flickering like a spark trying to catch fire. Every direction felt wrong, as if the world had rearranged itself while we weren't looking. The pillars whispered as the wind moved through them, shaping tones that almost formed words. My breath stalled when one of the low pulses in the ground synced with the whispering, creating a strange harmony that tugged at my senses. A chill raced across my spine, and for a heartbeat I felt weightless, as though gravity loosened its grip. The mist drifted lower, revealing more stone markers scattered in patterns too precise to be accidental. I looked at the men ahead, but they walked with purpose, as if these stones marked a path only they could decipher. For the first time, the thought occurred to me. I wasn't being guided to safety. I was being taken deeper into something the desert had buried for a reason. The deeper we went, the more the desert seemed to change its shape. The dunes formed sharper edges, rising in unnatural symmetry like sculpted walls. I felt the pull in my chest growing stronger, guiding my gaze toward a hollow between two towering dunes. A dim glow flickered there like light trying to escape from underground. My steps slowed as the sensation in my body shifted from disorientation to recognition, as though some hidden part of me knew this place, but I had never been anywhere like it. The glow brightened briefly, and the sand trembled beneath my feet, as if something beneath the surface was waking up just because I was near. We reached the hollow, and the glow resolved into a thin line, tracing a crack in the earth, spreading like veins of light through the sand. A deep rumble echoed from below, so low, it felt more like a memory than sound. I knelt instinctively, drawn to the shifting patterns within the crack, but the moment my hand hovered above it, the light pulsed sharply. The sand around us responded, flattening into a perfect circle as though shaped by invisible hands. I stumbled back, heart racing. This wasn't natural. It wasn't accidental. Whatever lived beneath these dunes was communicating, reacting, choosing. And the worst part was the unmistakable certainty washing over me. It recognized me somehow. The circle of sand held its shape long after the rumble faded, as if waiting for a command none of us could hear. My pulse thudded against my ribs, beating in sync with faint vibrations rising through the ground. The glow beneath the dunes dimmed, then brightened again, pulsing like a heartbeat. I stood slowly, brushing sand from my hands, but the air had changed, heavier, charged like a storm about to break. Ahead, the dunes curved into a narrow passage that hadn't been there moments before. The wind died completely, leaving a silence so deep it pressed against my ears. I looked to the men beside me, searching for answers, but their stillness made it clear. This path had appeared because of me, and if I stepped forward, I knew something on the other side was expecting my arrival. The passage tightened around us as we walked, the walls rising higher until they blocked the horizon entirely. The air cooled with every step, carrying a faint, earthy scent not found anywhere on the open desert. I dragged my fingers along the sand walls, expecting loose grains, but instead felt smooth, almost polished surfaces. Echoes followed our footsteps, even though the sand should have swallowed all sound. Something about this place felt less like a natural formation and more like a tunnel carved on purpose, far older than anything standing above ground. My senses kept shifting, caught between dread and recognition, and the strange pull in my chest grew into a steady tug. as though whatever lay ahead had been waiting for me long before I set foot in the Sahara. The corridor widened suddenly, opening into a shallow basin sheltered by towering dunes. The ground here looked untouched by wind, unnaturally flat, as if protected by something unseen. A faint, rhythmic vibration traveled under my feet again, and this time it felt deliberate, almost like a signal. In the center of the basin lay a single stone slab half buried in sand. My breath caught when I saw markings etched across its surface, patterns similar to the ones that flickered beneath the dunes earlier. I moved closer, unable to stop myself. The nearer I got, the more the world seemed to narrow around the stone, every other sound fading away. Whatever lay hidden here, it wasn't meant to remain buried forever. I reached out and brushed the sand off the slab, and the carvings responded instantly, glowing with the same soft light I had seen in the cup. A warm pulse shot up my fingertips, spreading through my arm and into my chest. I gasped and stumbled back, clutching at the sudden surge of heat inside me. The basin trembled lightly, as if reacting to the slab's awakening. I heard a sharp intake of breath from behind me, but the world spun too fast to identify who made it. The carvings brightened once more, then dimmed into a steady glow. The pulse inside my chest matched it perfectly, beating in perfect rhythm. Whatever force lived beneath the dunes had linked itself to me, and it wasn't letting go. The glow slowly faded to a soft shimmer, but the echo of the pulse remained inside me like a second heartbeat. The desert seemed to listen, waiting for what I would do next. I pushed myself up, breath heavy, and looked at the men who brought me here. Their expressions told me this was no accident. The air around us thickened again, and for the first time I sensed something else moving beneath the sand. Not chaotic, not violent, but purposeful. It felt as though an enormous presence had shifted its attention toward the surface, toward me. I didn't know whether it was curiosity or hunger, but one thing became clear. The drink had not been an offering. It had been an invitation. And I had accepted it without understanding the price. The ground settled, but the pulse inside my chest didn't. It pushed against my ribs with quiet insistence, like something trying to guide my steps. The basin felt too small now, too confined for whatever had awakened beneath it. Sheikh Amar motioned toward a narrow slope leading upward, and without speaking, the three of us began climbing the soft incline. Each step felt heavier, as though the sand resisted my movement. The night sky above shimmered faintly, constellations warping at the edges of my vision. I blinked, hoping it was just exhaustion, but the distortion remained. Slow, shifting, almost curious. When we reached the top of the dune, the entire landscape had changed again. The desert below glowed in faint outlines, formed shapes I had never seen on any map. And for the first time, I wondered if the Sahara itself was trying to show me something it had hidden for centuries. At the top of the dune, a low wind circled us without warning, carrying grains of sand that sparkled like tiny embers. The air tasted different, cooler, metallic, almost charged. Ahead, the land dipped into a wide valley where the dunes formed spirals instead of waves, each curve precise as if crafted by deliberate hands. The pulse in my chest synced with the shapes below, tugging me toward the center of the spirals. I swallowed hard, unable to shake the feeling that I was being drawn into something far larger than a simple desert secret. Something ancient, something patient, and something that had been waiting for me long before I ever took that first step onto the sand. We descended into the spiral valley, each curve of sand rising taller than expected, forming walls that seemed to shift as we passed. My breath echoed strangely, bouncing back at odd angles, as if the dunes bent sound itself. With every step deeper into the formation, the pull in my chest grew stronger, spreading warmth through my arms and down my spine. It wasn't painful. It was more like anticipation, as though something inside me recognized the path ahead. The sand around us gleamed with faint veins of light, moving beneath the surface like slow currents. I felt exposed, as if the desert itself could read my thoughts, Whatever waited at the center of these spirals wasn't just calling me. It was expecting me. When we reached the center of the spirals, the ground dipped into a shallow crater where the sand had fused into smooth stone. The pulse inside me surged, matching a low vibration rising from the earth. I stepped closer, feeling heat radiating from the stone as faint symbols flickered across its surface. They shifted like living lines, rearranging, as if trying to form a message. A strange pressure built inside my head, not painful but insistent. I felt the world narrowing again, funneling my attention to the crater. The air thickened around us, holding the silence like breath caught in a throat, and then, without warning, the stone brightened. But only when I stepped directly in front of it. The stone shimmered, then split with a soft clicking sound, revealing a narrow opening in the earth. Warm air rushed upward, brushing past my face like a breath escaping from a sleeping giant. The spirals around us trembled, sending tiny avalanches cascading down their curved walls. I stepped back instinctively, but the pulse inside my chest pulled me forward, urging me closer to the opening. I stared into the darkness below, feeling both fear and recognition mingle in my veins. The men behind me remained silent, letting the moment unfold. I realized then that this wasn't just a hidden chamber. It was a threshold, one meant to be crossed by me alone. And whatever lay beneath the desert had been waiting for this exact moment. The opening breathed warm air against my face, carrying the damp scent of stone untouched by time. For a moment, the world above felt unreal, too vast, and too quiet compared to the presence waiting beneath my feet. My heartbeat echoed louder, sensing with faint thuds rising from below. Slow, steady, ancient. I stepped closer, the warmth wrapping around me like a warning or a welcome. The sand spirals behind us held their shape even as the ground trembled in soft waves. The darkness inside the passage didn't feel empty. It felt aware. I swallowed hard, realizing the desert had not revealed this place because I found it. It revealed itself because something inside me matched whatever lived here. And with each passing second, the invisible pull grew stronger, leaving no doubt. The thing below wanted me to enter. A soft vibration rolled through the spirals, almost like a sigh from the desert itself. I looked back, half expecting the dunes to collapse or shift, but everything remained unnervingly still. The pulse within my chest guided my steps toward the opening, steady and sure, stronger than any fear tightening my throat. The air inside the passage shifted, revealing faint whispers carried on warm currents. They didn't form words, but they carried intent, pulling at me, nudging me forward. My fingers brushed the stone edges, smooth and strange, as though shaped by something other than hands. I felt the world above slipping away with each breath, replaced by a rising certainty that the truth waiting below was connected to the drink, the visions, and the strange rhythm now embedded inside. A truth I couldn't run from anymore. I lowered myself into the fissure, feet finding narrow steps carved into the stone. The air grew warmer, thicker, carrying a faint hum that vibrated through my bones. The glow beneath the surface brightened with every step, lighting the walls in flowing patterns that shifted like liquid gold. Behind me, the sky narrowed into a shrinking slit of darkness as I descended deeper. For the first time, a flicker of doubt pierced through the pull I felt. If I went any farther, there would be no easy way back. Yet the pulse in my chest urged me on with such certainty that turning around felt like betraying something older than memory. The light ahead spread across the path, steady and patient, waiting for me to commit fully to the descent. The passage opened into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadows. Pale light pulsed through veins in the walls, moving in slow waves that matched the rhythm within my chest. The floor was perfectly smooth, reflecting the glow like still water. At the center stood a tall stone monument carved with the same shifting symbols I had seen above ground. I stepped toward it, drawn by a sense of recognition that grew sharper with every heartbeat. The monument felt alive, its surface warming as I approached. A quiet pressure settled around me, thicker than air but gentler than touch. It was as though the chamber itself was waiting for a response, one that only I could give. The moment I touched the monument, a surge of warmth shot through my arm and spread across my entire body. Light flared beneath my feet, racing outward in perfect circles that illuminated the chamber. My breath hitched as shapes formed around me, coast-like outlines moving within the glow, shifting in and out of clarity as though caught between worlds. My pulse hammered in unison with the surging light. I heard soft footsteps behind me, but the moment felt sealed, locked between me and whatever force had awakened. For a heartbeat, the chamber seemed to inhale. Then a faint image flickered across the monument, an outline of a man I recognized from photographs, one who should have been lost decades ago. And in that instant, the truth hit me. I wasn't the first traveler to drink from the Brotherhood's cup, and the one who came before me was still somewhere in this desert. The chamber slowly dimmed, the ripples of light settling into a soft glow that clung to the walls like fading breath. My hand slipped from the monument as the pulse inside me steadied into something calmer, clearer, almost aware. The faint silhouette I saw still lingered in my mind, sharp enough to carve doubt into my chest. If another traveler had stood here before me, then every step I had taken wasn't just discovery. It was repetition. I looked around, expecting the chamber to shift again, but instead the silence deepened, thick and listening. A subtle tremor moved through the floor, not threatening, but guiding, like fingers tapping gently from below. The air warmed around me, almost comforting. It was then I realized this place wasn't trying to frighten me. It was trying to communicate, and somewhere in the darkness, the desert held an answer it had been saving for years. The tremor in the floor grew stronger, forming a rhythm that matched the beat inside my chest. I closed my eyes and let the sensations line up, realizing the pulse wasn't echoing my heartbeat. It was leading it. Beneath the chamber, something vast stirred, like a sleeping creature rolling gently in its slumber. I felt an image flash behind my eyelids, dunes splitting open, light pouring out, and a figure walking alone into the glow. My breath hitched. It wasn't my vision. It was someone else's memory, drifting up from the depths like a forgotten ripple. When I opened my eyes, the chamber's light flickered in response, almost expectant. The desert wasn't just showing me remnants of the past. It was asking me to follow them. The chamber lights dimmed again, drawing my attention toward a narrow tunnel carved into the far wall, one that hadn't been visible before. It glowed faintly, breathing warm light like the fissure above. Without waiting for instruction, I stepped toward it, feeling the invisible pull sharpen into something unmistakable. This tunnel, unlike the others, felt newer, shaped not by time, but by intent. The moment I crossed its threshold, the air thickened with moisture, carrying a scent that didn't belong to the desert at all. Cool, herbal, almost like damp stone after rain. My footsteps echoed down the twisting corridor, as shadows stretched and contracted along the walls. Whatever lay ahead, it wasn't just another chamber. It was the place the desert had been guiding me toward, since the moment I took that drink. The tunnel curved and twisted until the walls opened into another chamber, smaller, circular, and strangely warmer. A pool of shimmering liquid rested at its center, glowing with the same shifting colors I'd seen inside the cup. My stomach tightened. The air vibrated faintly around the pool, sending ripples across its surface, even without touch. I felt that same recognition flooding my senses, stronger this time, as though the pool wasn't just similar to the drink. It was the source. A soft wind brushed past my face despite the stillness of the air. The desert waited, silent and patient. And deep inside, that strange new rhythm pulsed like a second heartbeat, guiding me toward the edge. The pool rippled on its own, forming soft waves that circled outward before returning inward, as though breathing. I crouched closer, and the glow intensified, rising toward me like a response. The rhythm inside my chest quickened with it, sensing so perfectly that I couldn't distinguish where my pulse ended and the pool's began. A single memory rose in my mind, an image of a figure kneeling at this same pool, touching the surface with trembling hands. Then the memory shifted, and I realized it wasn't just anyone. It was the missing explorer. The desert hadn't swallowed him whole. It had brought him here, and as the ripples reached my fingertips, I felt something undeniable. He wasn't gone. He had changed. And if I touched the water, I knew the desert might change me, too. The glow from the pool brightened until the chamber felt alive, pulsing like a vast hidden heart beneath the desert. My reflection wavered on the surface, stretching and folding into shapes that didn't belong to me. The air warmed, carrying a low hum that resonated deep inside my ribs. I felt no fear now, only a strange clarity, as if everything that had happened since the drink led me to this exact moment. Behind me, footsteps shifted softly, but no voices followed. The silence felt intentional, almost sacred. I leaned closer, sensing something rising through the water toward me. Not a creature, not a hand, but a memory forming itself into shape. I held my breath, waiting, knowing the desert was about to reveal what it had been guarding for decades. The surface of the pool parted without a single ripple, revealing an image beneath it, clearer than any vision before. A man walked through a corridor bathed in the same golden light, his steps slow, almost ritualistic. His outline flickered, but his face was unmistakable. I felt the breath leave my chest as the vision sharpened. This wasn't a dream, not an illusion. It was a memory sealed in the water itself, preserved by the desert like a secret it refused to let fade. The man in the vision paused, turning slowly as if sensing he was being watched from a different time. And when his eyes lifted toward me, the pulse in my chest slammed, hard enough to make me gasp. The vision shifted again, swirling into a moment that felt impossibly heavy. Rowan knelt beside the same pool, touching its surface with trembling fingers. The pool flared bright, wrapping him in a glow so intense it blurred the edges of his form. Then he stood, but something was different. His posture straighter, his movements smoother, his expression calm in a way that felt unnatural. The chamber around him shook softly, as though responding to his transformation. My breath tightened as I realized the truth. The desert didn't take Rowan. It reshaped him. And the pulse inside me, the visions, the pull, they were all part of the same path he had walked. A path the desert chose, not asked for. The vision faded, leaving the pool still and silent once more. But the truth remained, heavy and undeniable. I sat back, letting the warm air settle around me, feeling the pulse inside my chest slow into a steady, familiar rhythm. It no longer felt foreign. It felt like a part of me. The chamber dimmed as if waiting for my decision. I glanced back at the two figures behind me, silent, watching, except somewhere deep inside the desert, Rowan had walked forward into whatever waited beyond the pool, and the Sahara had claimed him in its own way. Now it waited for me to choose. The silence pressed gently, not demanding but offering, and for the first time I understood. The desert never forced anyone. It simply revealed the truth hidden behind every fear. I reached the edge of the pool again, my fingers hovering above the warm, glowing surface. The pulse inside me steadied, no longer urging or pulling, simply waiting for my choice. For a long moment, the chamber held its breath, the desert above silent as stone. I thought of the visions, of Rowan's transformation, of the path carved long before I ever arrived. Then, I lowered my hand. The instant my skin touched the water, warmth surged through me. Not frightening, not overwhelming, but familiar, like stepping into a memory I had forgotten. The chamber glowed brighter, wrapping me in a halo of shifting light. For the first time, the desert felt like it knew me, accepted me. And as the ripples spread outward, I understood that the drink had never been a threat. It had been an invitation, and now the Sahara wasn't just revealing its secrets, it was ready to share them.